I'm Terry David Mulligan, and this is the Mulligan Stew Podcast. Welcome aboard. Approaching episode 200, which will be very special for me and hopefully for you, because our guest will be Joni Mitchell from another time and another place. And there's a video that goes with. I like looking back at some of the interviews I've done, and that's what this one is. In 2010, early in 2010, I believe it was, I asked for an interview with Solomon Burke because he had just released Nothing's Impossible, his album that he recorded in Memphis with Willie Mitchell, the producer, who gave us that incredible sound behind Al Green. Well, a lot of artists, but Al Green in particular. And I wanted to know what the experience was like, how he got along with Willie. He and Willie are great friends. And we got carried away with other things, but I had great fun with him. I mean, and that made sense because he was from a family that had its own church. So he was a preacher, a host of a gospel radio program by the age of 12, and started recording in 1955. And really did cross over styles of rhythm and blues, and created soul along with Ray Charles and everybody else who was working the circuit then. He got to work with Bert Burns as a songwriter and a producer. It was Bert Burns who first produced Van Morrison. He did win a Grammy, by the way, for Best Contemporary Blues Album in 2002 for Don't Give Up on Me. And then he was up every year for another 3 years. And Nothing's Impossible, the album we're talking about, was also nominated for a Grammy. He died October 2010 in the airport in Amsterdam and was later inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. I did this interview, and then weeks later he died. And I just couldn't bring myself to go back and listen to it. When you edit an interview, you got to listen to it many times. And I just kept crying. It was just breaking me up. So I just walked away from it. I rediscovered the interview a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I got to give this some light of day. So do enjoy this. A conversation. Just listen to the tenor of the man. Listen to him. He's amazing. This is Solomon Burke, not too long before he passed away himself. I mean, and here's the thing. We're talking about Willie Mitchell dying just after they did this album. And he talks about how he's trying to take care of himself. And then Solomon Burke dies as well. We remember brother Solomon Burke. His name is Solomon Burke, and the new album is called Nothing's Impossible, which are the two most important pieces of information that I can give you. His name, Solomon Burke, and the name of the new music that you can go and find, Nothing's Impossible. Welcome back to CKUA and Mulligan Stew, Solomon.
Wow, it's just exciting to be with you again. And to you and all your family and all your listeners out there, hello, hello, hello.
Let me run some numbers by you. First of all, the biggest number of all, of course, is that you are now 70 plus years. Is that correct?
I'm 7.
Let me add a 0 there.
I dropped that O and made a hero out of it.
The other numbers that I watched go by said, and the numbers change all the time. It says father of 21 and 90 grandkids. Is that correct?
90 grandchildren and counting.
And how do you celebrate Mother's Day?
We just keep praying and keep saying yes. and call all the mothers that we can. And then the beauty of it now is email.
Yeah.
You know, and I can internet. I'm going to put a message on my email and send it out. And my daughter said, "Go on MySpace, my face, or whatever, my place, or whatever it is." And you know, I know nothing about this. This is all new to me, and I'm catching up with it. It's incredible. You know, my fingers are too big to make the little movements on the phones.
Solomon Burke, if you get a chance, check out this new album, Nothing's Impossible, produced by Willie Mitchell, who finished the project and passed away 10 days later. It's in his memory and to the talent of Solomon Burke that we're talking to him. So now here's the thing. This is a very fine follow-up to Nashville, this album. And I've always appreciated your producers, Willie's work with Al Green and with everything that ever happened in Memphis was always Willie Mitchell. It was always it was always the sound of those horns, the feeling that he got in the room, the way music flowed from the artist.
Magic.
It was magic. But you had never worked together. You'd talked about working together, but years had gone by.
It's like you and I. We talk about it, and I want to get up there to your ranch and smell the grapes on the vine and the beautiful horses and all that stuff. And Willie and I talked about, oh man, when you get here, man, we're gonna do some records. You say, man, you better come over here with a real record company. And we'd laugh and talk and joke about it. And he would call me and say, hey, what do you think about that Al Green record? What do you think about it? I said, okay, Willie, don't rub it in.
Yeah.
And we had fun for the years watching our children grow up and grandchildren. We have 2 grandchildren. He has a grandson named Ethan, which is 2 years and 3 months old. I have a grandson named Ethan, which is 2 years and 1 month old.
Wow.
Is that amazing?
It is amazing.
And we knew nothing about it. Nothing at all. So it's just how usual, when the spin of time, rotates for you, when you're part of that spoke in that wheel of life, things turn, and you have to keep turning with it. Thank God I was able to grab that wheel at this time and get into that turn.
This is The Stew. We are speaking with Brother Solomon Burke, and we're talking about his brand new album called Nothing's Impossible, produced by the late, great Willie Mitchell in Memphis, Tennessee. Was there a time when Willie and Al Green were making their hits that you felt that they absolutely hit the sweet spot? Was there an album or a song that said to you, wow, that's great, that's just great?
I thought a couple of those, couple of the things that they did together were just incredible. I mean, I would call him and say, man, that is a move. He goes, yeah, man, but you ain't here, so what do you want me to do? That kind of thing. And I would call Al and tell him, hey, man, it's a great record. I went to Al's church and the whole thing, and, I just admire him as an artist. And he's a young minister also. And I just admired the work that he was doing with Willie Mitchell and the closeness that they had, that magic neck that they had. And to have the opportunity to get in there with Willie, because, he's a one project at a time person. And he concentrated on an artist. He was concentrating on that artist. And nothing would change that. And I was just blessed of the right timing. It was just such a right timing.
Well, timing is everything, Solomon, because literally days, 5 or 6 days after Willie Mitchell finished this album with 10
days to be exact.
You got a phone call and someone told you that Willie Mitchell had died. What went through your mind? What went through your heart?
I said, okay, that's not a good joke. That's not a real good joke, because I had talked with him 5 days prior to that, and he got out of the hospital. We were laughing and talking about, we got to start writing some stuff for another album. I said, we got to get this one off the ground. We're going to get this one off the ground, baby. We're going to get this one off the ground. And that was the conversation that I had the last time with him. Then I was told that he went back into the hospital. And that's when I lost him. Within that 4-day period, it was just like the rug was taken away and the magic was gone. And the memory now lingers on in my heart and mind. But I thank God for that moment in time.
That there's no guarantee, and Solomon, you know this for a fact, that you can want to work with somebody for 10 or 20 or 30 years. There is absolutely no guarantee that when you finally get in the studio with that talent, that artist, that things are going to happen, because you can beat your head against the wall and nothing happens. What happened? What happened?
That line that you just said is in this album. Bang your head against the wall. And this is just what he said to me. He says, I'm going to write this line because this is so true. How many times I bang my head against the wall, and it's in this album. When you play it, you hear it, the song of this line. But it's so simple, because you can want to work with a producer, and you can think that producer is the one that's going to bring it home, and you do a whole album and nothing happens. Nothing happens but the great experience that you have with the different producers and different writers makes it a creative moment in time.
This is Mulligan Stew on the CKUA Radio Network, and yes, we are speaking with Solomon Burke about his brand new album called Nothing's Impossible, the last project produced by Memphis legend Willie Mitchell. Do you find, you've probably been asked this, but I kind of wonder if the answer changes. We're talking with Solomon Burke. When you preach and when you sing into a microphone, are they the same thing?
For me it is, because I'm constantly delivering a message. And my whole thrust of my career is to deliver a message of love and peace and togetherness and understanding. Those things are very important to me. My faith stands on its grounds. It stands independent. I believe that nothing is impossible. I believe this. Willie knew that my faith was there. He knew I believed this. And this is the reason why he wrote this song, because he said, I know you can sing this one, you can't sing nothing. You know, and the magic of his, I pick up his character when I speak of his name. I literally pick up his voice character.
Yep.
When I speak of his name now, and it's amazing that it just lingers with me in my heart and my mind.
How did the session work for Willie? Could you tell that he was happy doing this?
Willie was having a ball. We were ordering his special pizza, which is a seafood pizza with everything on it, including clams on the half shell. And I mean, it was just amazing. You know, little Daniel, his grandson, was running around there. Hey, Pops, you want me to order that chicken for you and Solomon? Man, get that chicken. You got that chicken there? We ain't got no chicken legs. This man can't sing without chicken legs. He's a preacher. You know.
Of course, he is in Memphis, one of the great food towns in all of North America.
Oh my God! I mean, we were having such a good time, enjoying one another, and writing together. You know, which was amazing. And he wrote a song with my daughter Candy.
That's right.
You know, which just blew me away.
The Errors of My Ways.
Yeah, I mean, here she is. What would make me think that she would write a blues song for the Error of My Ways? I looked at it. Just a story you're not telling Dad. She said, well, sing about it.
There's a great first.
Would not let me hear it until they finished it.
I just happen to have it right here. It's the first line in it that just kills me. I just and the strings the
magic of it, the magic of the music,
and the organ, and you're just sitting there, you're rocking back and forth, and you sing this.
You know it, you see it.
That sings this first line. Hold on a second. Let me just do this.
I know this sounds crazy. Me down here on my knees.
Wow.
Listen to me, baby. I've learned a few things.
Man, that's just wisdom. That's what that is.
Wow.
That's
and you
wonderful.
know the beauty of it, and I can share this with you. I'm reading these words for the first time because they did not let me see these words or hear them. They went in the other room and wrote this song in 2 days and said, okay, now you got it. Band, y'all ready? We're gonna do this thing now, Simon. You sing it. Sing it like you feel it. Don't be in there imitating nobody. And I said, okay, let's do it. And this is it.
Wow.
This is the natural thing. This is the real deal. You don't get any real. This is in the kitchen making the bacon. This is it. Baking the cake right here. This is it.
Wow. When you thought about Willie, and did you go to the funeral?
Yes, I did.
Did they ask you to sing or say something?
No, I couldn't.
All right.
But I'll tell you what happened to me. When I did this song, You Needed Me for Willie, which was his favorite song that he'd been trying to get somebody to record for 10 years, I didn't understand it thoroughly because I knew it was a turnaround song, you know, man and a woman song. And I found out that moment when the casket was going down the aisle that it was not just a turnaround song, it was a song for everybody. For every man, every woman, every boy, and every girl to listen for one another's needs and wants. And I realized that Willie had this song for me because I needed him and he needed me to sing this song, and I needed to sing it. And it hit me so hard. And now, just the thought of it brings a whole different frame of mind and a whole different definition of the song. The words are so true, so profound. Thank you, Anne Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Canadian.
Canada.
Canadian girl. Did it make you, his passing, did it make you reconnect with your own health and the years that you have left with us? Did you recommit to that? Do you think about that?
Well, I'm thinking very strong about it on every end. I mean, I have severe case of arthritis that I'm trying to work on to have a hip replacement and knee replacement. And right now I'm in a wheelchair. But it hasn't affected me of getting around and moving around and getting to where I have to go, traveling around the world. And my determination is stronger than my ability to run and play football. But it doesn't stop me from performing because by the grace of God, I'm able to perform from the throne.
All right.
And deliver the message of soul from the throne. And Willie's idea was, you're going to sing these songs till you jump up out that chair. And I said, okay.
Okay.
Willie, let's record. And the inspiration that he gave me, the encouragement that he gave me, just makes me want to run on, makes me want to continue, makes me more concerned about my health, about my weight. I love food. I love eating. I love cooking. I love all those good things that go with it. And it makes me more concerned. I'm very more conscious than ever and trying my best to do the best I can. Working very special.
I just have to ask you, I know we've been talking about food and it's a basic part of life. Do you have you had a relationship with wine? Are you a wine guy?
I love the best of wines. I'm not a drinker, but I love good wine, and I love to share good wine. And I have so many friends who are Italians.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, Zucchero, who's a very famous singer in Italy, and he bottles his own wine, makes his own balsamic vinegar, and his own cheese. And he sent me 2 bottles of his wine and the vinegar, and he is just incredible. And he always says to me, send me some California wine,
or
some of that Canadian wine whenever you get a chance. Send it to me for Christmas, send it to me, whatever. So I'm looking forward to capturing some of that great wine that you have up there.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a special little valley that runs all the way to California, isn't it?
It is the Sonora. It is
break from the vine from the seed.
It's the Sonora Desert, Solomon. It's the Sonora Desert. And one final thing: if you ever cross paths with Steve Cropper really knows his wines. He's the guy that taught Dan Aykroyd about wines.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh my God.
We're talking world class wines. Yeah.
I'm not a connoisseur of it, but I certainly have a lot of people around me who know how to be a connoisseur of it.
Okay, Solomon, we're going to leave you with we're going to leave the folks with 2 tracks. I'd like you to pick one Al Green, Willie Mitchell song, and then I'm going to follow up with something that you choose. You get to be the DJ here. What do you want to start with, Al Green?
Oh, I'm so in love with you.
Wow. And how about something from you to follow it up?
I would say the Anne Murray song.
You Needed Me.
You Needed Me.
Okay, got it.
Thank you so much.
Have yourself a great year. Find a Canadian date if you can, and keep the love in your heart. We appreciate it.
God bless you. I love you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Solomon Burke, ladies and gentlemen, right here on The Stew. A Solomon Burke interview that has never been heard before. And I just discovered it and said, okay, it's time. You found me. I found you. Let's finally run this. We did that in 2010 in relationship with his album, Nothing's Impossible. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening. This is the Mulligan Stew Podcast. Please subscribe on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. We'll see you next week.